Hello and welcome to more Bound by Flame with me, Oni Black Mage. What we just did is, last time we were bound up with obligations to helping out the apothecary, helping out the medics over here, finding her missing medical assistant, finding some supplies, finding some rations, and stealing everywhere, including my own camp, to do so. Now that I've collected all the XP for doing that, now what I'm doing is helping out a few more errand things. What I'm doing is finishing up helping out Randval, I believe, helping him join my crew. Let's see, one of my own guys went missing, so I need to find him in the woods, and there's this Werebeast lurking around that the steward of his village wants me to deal with. It seems the Werebeast, though, is part of the main plot, so, you know, side plot-wise, it's not that bad, actually. Randval, yeah, it was Randval. I'm always curious about the actual weight that's being represented by these choices. I do like it when the gameplay asks you a few junctures and it lets you know, hey, by the way, the choice you're about to make is actually pretty critical. If they do it the way BioWare is famous for doing it, BioWare is very, very skilled at creating the illusion of you making a choice that actually matters. Sometimes by doing some clever social gimmicks such as repeating back what you said, which to you seems like, oh, I made a choice, and now the fact that this choice is circling back to me and it's being repeated back to me means that my choice had weight. It's the small details that we notice because we influence them. Even though all they really did was just take some very general story direction and slightly color it and sprinkle it with a few of the key choices and keywords that you actually made to fill in there. And that's kind of clever, actually. Granted, that ruse came apart at the very end when everybody criticized the Mass Effect 3 ending, because go figure, at the very, very end of the series, everybody became wise to how there was only an illusion of choice all three games. We never minded it, and frankly, I still don't. I still think all three of those games are fantastic. And but some people didn't take it that way. They were just a little bit late to realize that the illusion of choice has always been an illusion. They never once actually stated or swore by the fact that, hey, what you're doing is a tangible, visible difference at all. Alright, so here's Randval. Go ahead and recruiting him over on my side. He is a third of my allies, although of the three, I prefer Sybil the most because one, I like her long-range magic, it's very effective, and number two, she heals me, especially at a range, which I find so crucial at points, where I can just turtle up and defend. This game compels me to create a beginner's guide because there is a learning curve that I notice is turning a lot of people off. There are a few people I talk to and they're being turned off by this game's learning curve. There is a learning curve. And granted, I don't know if it's necessarily true or just the whinings of certain people, because I've seen quote-unquote professionals, and again, look at my last rant to see my view on that, where they criticize, like, say, the control scheme, the way that you handle blocking, the pace of combat, and even the control schemes of the camera. Which, granted, I would argue that there are points where they put you in a fight, and I would prefer if the camera zoomed out, because the way that it sticks behind you, sometimes if you swivel around too fast, you're going to have part of the environment get in your way and block you from seeing what's happening. I've had that a few times, and given how sometimes self-contained some of these environments are, they're not exactly flat, open fighting grounds. They're very in the thick of it sort of deals. I don't necessarily mind that. I don't know what a compromising solution would be if there's a clean way to not only prevent the environments from being, I want to say, deliberate fight environments. Because there are some areas in some games that you play that you walk in, you can immediately see, yup, this is going to be a boss fight arena, or yup, this is going to be an ambush spot. Because you kind of have felt out where, oh, did you see the lighting just there? Where you just see that they deliberately are leaving this area for opening. And to me, making this sort of hard, structured, rigid design choices at the cost of having some natural sort of organic environment, I don't know, that's a compromise. That's not exactly a clean, gray, it's not a black and white issue there. So I can see both sides of that. I personally do not demerit that. It is something to work around, but I find it okay. I find it okay to deal with. Alright, so I'll help Randval, and in terms of The only things I have left to do is I have to find Hawk out in the swamp, and he's going in the swamp area that I'm about to go to now to resolve this Werebeast scenario. So let me go ahead and get back Sybil, get my girl. By the way, I don't know if this was an option because it never gave you the option. I kind of noticed that my character is just a little bit shorter than just about everybody in this world. Not that I think that that matters, and not that it's an insecurity. It's just that, interesting. It's got kind of a Wolverine kind of deal to it. Alright, so here we are. We're going to be moving out to the forest and the swamp now. And given the levels that we've been progressing, I would have to say in my beginner's guide that's something to keep in mind. And I'll recap some of the big notes that I'm keeping off the top of my head. Like, off the top of my head, the way you need to structure combat is you absolutely must have flame weapon at all times. In every fight, you must have flame weapon, period. I kind of wish there was an enchantment that lets your weapon just be on fire at all times, just be a flaming weapon, or just constantly be dealing fire damage, because you need to constantly apply flame weapon. Otherwise, you're going to be there forever, hacking and slashing some of these enemies apart. And I suppose I can see some people's criticisms of that, but me being a mage focus anyway, I don't necessarily find that a problem. For me, casting fire is pretty inexpensive. It's getting inexpensive, and getting cheaper by the level. But for people that are focusing more on, say, ranger or warrior builds, I can imagine how you may not want to go out of your way to invest in pyromancy past what you absolutely need. Which, by the way, you absolutely need flame weapon. And another thing I would say is, unless you're swinging, you need to be guarding. Period. Keep that guard up at all times. Do not keep your guard up unless you're healing, in which case you need to run away from everything, their effective attack range, or bait them into attacking and drinking a potion between their actioning reset. Because if you get knocked down, your recovery time for being knocked down is somewhat slow, and they will get another free hit or two if they're fast enough while you're down, and that could definitely kill you. You are fragile in this game. Now, you can make yourself less fragile, and I realize this, but I'm not necessarily taking advantage of it at this time, by crafting. That's why I do advise, for survivability purposes, that you may want to consider, I forget which survivability ones, like Scrounger or whatever, the ones that lets you have like a 20% chance of finding extra goods. Given the fact that every enemy drops at least something, I haven't seen an enemy yet that doesn't drop anything. Given the fact that they always drop at least tainted blood or something, getting more supplies and then lowering crafting costs means that you can craft more for less. That makes sense, but let me just emphasize it. That is extremely important in this game. Otherwise, it comes down to skills. Your stats will certainly help, but they are not going to make or break this game. The way this game is structured, I notice, it seems to pace itself well. I wonder if that's a note that a lot of people are ignoring. It paces itself fairly well, I would say. The reason I say that is it paces itself in such a way that when you're going through, naturally, the progression of the main campaign, you are going to encounter these enemies at such a challenge that you do feel that you are accustomed to the challenge and it's not overwhelming, while at the same time not being too easy. Granted, in the beginning, all we've been fighting is spiders, and I look forward to fighting something new, but at the same time, when I find the next area's basic trash mobs, I get the feeling it's going to be the same cycle. At first, there's going to be a challenge cycle as I get used to their attack cycles, as I get used to their vulnerabilities, as I get used to how much damage they're dealing. But afterwards, after getting a little bit better equipment from what's lying around, by the way, once again, pro tip, do not buy anything from the shop, it's not worth it, then I feel that, yeah, you're going to get better, period. These environments remind me very much of Divinity 2. By the way, I really like Divinity 2. That's another budget title that I really recommend. If you can find that in a bargain bin somewhere, give it a shot. I actually really liked it as an action RPG. I believe that was a British-made RPG, if I'm not mistaken. The ending may surprise you, too. It certainly surprised me. It ended up being a lot more depressing than I thought it would be, which is an interesting curveball. You don't see that. That's another thing about these budget titles. They take more risks. I'm going to give that a compliment because I think they take risks that do pay off. They take risks with writing that I can recognize and applaud. They take risk with certain game mechanics, or they play it safe with seasonal favorites without pandering too much to what they feel is going to be a big sell. A lot of really big budget games run the double edge of being so big budget that they can't afford to take risks. And so they have to play it safe, and so they use a custom streamlined designs and controls and conventions and graphics that we have expected of the quote-unquote AAA title, which is a double edge. You don't need that to succeed, while at the same time they feel they need it to succeed. Because it's what everybody expects them to need to succeed. And once again, I appreciate that healing symbol. Thank you. Keep in mind, I'm playing this on normal, but I'm technically playing it harder than I should be because I haven't applied any crafting to my weapons or armor, which means I'm running on about half of the strength that I should be. Because I could empower my weapons. I could be doubling or tripling my armor value, but I'm not. Part of me is because I want to kind of preserve what I have until I find some really good equipment. Another part is, you know, I don't find the crying need to. I am out fighting these challenges. Like just now, I cleared that entire area where just a couple levels ago, I was just so inexperienced with the controls as well as my personal strength that I wouldn't have been able to fight those. And it's not per that I'm raising my stats, because I have not been investing into my warrior stats at all. I've been investing mostly into pyromancy. Actually, I've been investing entirely into pyromancy. So that's not it. Alright, so we're now moving into a new area, the Path of the Ruins. We're gonna hunt ourselves a Werebeast. Although first, we're gonna help ourselves to wherever our friend is on the secondary quest. I think his name is Hawk. The one who we're named after in this challenge. I find it funny that in the save slot it explicitly lists 10. Just 10, not as many as you can make, just 10. Let's see. Call it a personal preference, but I find that overlay in the middle of the map very handy. I like it when games and other isometric games like, say, Diablo do that. I need to look at the BC area to find out what this thing is called. It's kind of like a mimic. Just pretending to be a barrel while at the same time it's just coming out. By the way, the crafting system in here is very simple. The whole menagerie of mechanics in here are all very simple. It's a huge potpourri mix of very simple mechanics, which I find very elegant in game design. It doesn't get too complicated. It's stuff that we're familiar with. It's stuff that we know and expect on how to work, and does work as expected. And it mixes together. I don't find that such a problem. Some people think that a lot of games need to innovate, and they constantly have to innovate and push the realm forward. I'm okay with that. Shall I remind you that these days, no matter how advanced gaming gets, people still enjoy Pac-Man. People still enjoy Tetris. You don't have to tread new ground, especially since one of the biggest growing fields out there is mobile, and mobile almost, in fact, I would have to say, Mobile almost entirely is about not treading new ground. Every mobile game out there does things that have been done. And by the way, I paused to look at that tree. It's kind of weird how that tentacles, that spininess is just slithering up and around and into the tree. I think we're entering some cursed woods here. And there's a lot of red in this water. I wonder if this is where the missing party, the missing sentries for the village disappeared to. Where was I? Oh, that's right, mobile games. Yeah, nearly every mobile game we've seen before as a Flash game, which we've seen before as like an Atari game. We've seen nearly every game before in some archaic version. You can always trace things back. It's kind of true that there's nothing new under the sun. Be that as it may, that doesn't mean it's less fun. I remember when mobile games were first coming out, and there were a couple of mobile games, like people trying to justify, like, are there any decent mobile games that are out there? And one of the, or like, can they compete with giant AAA titles? And one of the constant pointed to examples, I forget what it's called. I want to say Infinity Blade, but it was basically a swipe-only controlled sort of, I want to say action RPG. But what it basically was just a medieval version of Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. That's exactly what it was. If you play Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, you kind of played Infinity Blade. And people were lauding it for its innovative controls and its, you know, innovation with pushing forward mobile gaming and stuff like that. I'm like, they're throwing around the word innovation way too liberally, or at least way too generously. But again, you have to take everything you read with a grain of salt. As long as you know the facts, then you're like, okay, I've seen this before and I know what this is. Just like this. This game I have not seen treading any new ground. All it is just a fun adventure with familiar mechanics, familiar faces, familiar, I want to say not tropes and stereotypes, but you know, nothing in here is coming across as shocking, and it doesn't have to be, as long as it's a fun ride. Yeah, these vines are definitely red. There's a lot of cranberry juice in this water. And so far, I'm surprised I haven't died yet. I dare say I'm getting used to these mechanics. So look at this, bam. It's only been a few short levels, but I think more than that, I'm getting used to this. I'm getting past the learning curve of this game. And we're only, like, I want to say 2 hours into this game. Roughly. 2-3 hours. Yeah, I want to say about 3 hours, I think. And yeah, I mean, that's about right. I'd like to think that most people have expectations, well, you should have all the controls down the first 30 minutes of the game. I understand that may be the expectation for certain action-adventure games that are only anticipated for lasting about 4 to 6 hours, you know, 12 at the tops. I understand that may be your expectation for those type of games, but for long journeys like this, where your character is constantly growing, constantly gaining new abilities, constantly expanding their repertoire, mastering their skill sets, that there's going to be a little bit of effort put in towards your end too. Sometimes having an RPG where you get everything up front and there's no sense of growth happening kind of deteriorates and makes you feel like it's a very watered down RPG. And if you get that feeling and you can't quite place it, that might just be it. Part of the journey of an RPG is the growth, is the change, is what your character is growing through, just like how you're growing through as a player through this game. You start feeling better, like, oh man, I'm now out fighting all these things that just, you know, an hour ago were giving me a hard time. That's the reward that you get. That's the satisfaction that you get. And by the time that you get it, you're probably going to graduate to the next area where you're kind of going to do it again. You're going to find new enemies and be like, oh man, I need to master these as well, and there you go.
These poor guys are dog meat.
This area looks super suspicious. Okay, well, these are their men. Found all this. And yeah, all these red shirts are dead, Jim. When they said equipment, I was hoping to actually get equipment. Yeah, let me save here. I get a feeling that I may be running into whatever killed these guys very, very soon. This entire area is red, I'm sure not by coincidence. Get the feeling I'm just following a trail of blood. Alright, well that's a giant sickle monster. I think that's a female sickle. And they're not too bad. Again, proper blocking, as you can see, it's about the counterattack. If you're having a problem with the counterattack, which I don't want to say you shouldn't, because it just is a matter of repetition and getting used to it. There is, fortunately, a ability in the warrior tree that extends the window that permits you to counterattack. So, right now, you can see I'm pulling off these counterattacks and dying. As I was just building myself up there. That'll teach me. Go ahead and try to be a little bit sneaky. As I'm sneaking in broad daylight. Well, I didn't really do all that much damage. Oh god, bad spot. That Sonic Blast attack kind of remind me of Tremors 2. The Heat Seekers and all that. I need to stop using Ranger. I didn't invest anything in here. I would almost have you down. You're down. You're down. Okay, that was a lot better. As you can see, the combat is the same enemies. I'm the same person with the same stats and enemies, but it's so radically different based on your execution. And it's not luck. Some people may excuse that as luck. I mean, there was no real luck there. The only chance-based abilities out there are if I land a lucky crit. I don't think enemies can land crits on you, or if they can, I haven't seen it. I haven't seen myself get hit for any unpredictable amount of damage. To where I'm like one hit KO'd. Okay, this certainly looks very suspicious. In fact, this area looks kind of like the area in the trailer, now that I think about it. Save just in case. Thank you, Sybil. And there's a person there in the vines. I can see that. Are they causing all this? Yeah, I'd be feeling about the same. Like, this is not right. Okay. Whoa. I think I found the Werebeast. It's more like a plant thing, though. It must be the one control. Yeah, okay. One of its arms is the red vines. That's got to be what's controlling it. How brazen. Alright, Vulcan, let's go. Let's go beat the ugly out of this thing. Nice, I just leveled up. Did I just level up from getting smacked around? It's like, ha, every time he beat me down, I come back stronger. Okay, so he's got a roar. It seems that if you go behind him, he has this impaling tentacle attack that rises from the ground. A geyser, I think. Alright, you go get him. Go see him, Sybil. Nice! Did you see that stun from the fireball? Awesome. Alright, let me get... Yep, perfect. Okay. If you can just get the counterattack down, not too bad. See how I slipped underneath that? Keeping that guard up, taking no damage. See, effective guarding. How about that? Ouch. Yeah, you got the free hit when I was down. Need to reconstitute myself. Yep, I don't mind when he does that attack. It makes him stationary. When I stagger and interrupt him like that, I think that's when my spell lands a crit. I deal a lot more damage. Crits, by the way, deal double damage, and if I crit with my fireball, I think it deals 2 other fireballs. I'm up to that level. Ooh, got me with his tentacle spike. Alright, not bad, not bad. He's fast, but I can see his attack. So yeah, see, not that bad. All I have to do is back up a little bit. If you have the backstabbing, or not backstabbing, but the backstab from Ranger, I can see how that's probably the perfect distance for you. But even if you're counterattacking as a warrior, that's fine. Just keep blocking like you are right there, and the spike shouldn't be damaging you. I don't want to waste any more magic just using my shotgun like that. I have him down to half. And I'm keeping a pretty good pace, and Sybil's still alive, which is good. He's alternating his aggro on her and me, which is fine. I'm just gonna go and wail on him as much as I can. I'm trying to see if there's a way I can attack through his tentacle geyser. Perfect! Thank you for that interrupt. Good job, Sybil. She's holding her own pretty well, too, honestly. Whew. Alright, we almost have him down. Let's not get cocky. Because you can flip around and die very quickly if you're very sloppy. Alright, come on. Ooh, he's fast. Yep, perfect. Look at that. Alright, I'm not going to take any chances. Alright. Perfect. Counterattack, exactly what I needed. Interrupt. Perfect. Almost there. Perfect. Almost there. Yes! Okay, first of all, I was using an axe. I was not using my sword. However, points for pulling the correct sword that I have on me. Bam! That's right. Don't ever take for account they're actually dead. Need a double tap. See, he's a smart warrior. I respect that. I can see why he's survived so many encounters.
This is horrible. We can't just leave that woman in this prison. We must find
Yeah, I agree.
free her from here.
Whoa, 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 whoa! Where did you come from?
This woman. She is not here by accident.
Why are you here, Aeolus? And first of all, how did you get here?
We all run the risk of falling under.
I had to wade through all these spiders and tentacles and mimics and stuff like that. You just walk in here? How the heck does that happen?
Human.
Why are you even here?
That is exactly what she is, my child.
He's the wicked one. Aeolus, is it not? He's the one who imprisoned me.
Edwen,
No
huh?
food or water, and barely clothed.
I what?
I don't know, Aeolus. Both of you seem pretty shaky to me right now.
Don't listen to her.
Father?
She is trying to manipulate.
I am using my
Use your
brain.
brain,
That's
child.
why this doesn't add up.
I'm begging you, get me out of here. I can't hold on much longer.
Exactly! That's exactly what I was thinking. What are you doing here?
You seem to know a lot about her. What the hell are you doing here anyway? The steward asked me to look into a dark power that has been affecting some of the
Huh,
villagers.
interesting.
Evil. And my search has led me here. It is no coincidence. That cursed
You know, if
woman-
that's true, then why didn't you mention that
I
before?
wouldn't expect him to admit to keeping a woman captive in the swamps for his own evil purposes.
Nonsense.
Exactly what I was thinking! See, man, this game is following a logical stream. I was thinking that exact same thing. Wait a minute, you came in here by yourself, knew I was here, and know exactly all about this woman all of a sudden? That's awfully suspicious.
Brought us back to the village afterwards. Without a supplement.
Not to mention our little sideways chat the other day in the hallway doesn't lend credence to you, by the way.
Who are you?
My name is Edwen. The ignorant will tell you that I'm a witch, a sorceress, or even...
I mean, I'm okay with
a
all three of those,
necromancer.
frankly.
The truth is much simpler and more socially...
You know what? She's a fellow magician.
I am, in fact, a magician.
Can't argue with that.
Neither as powerful nor as evil-minded as they think me.
She lies to thee. She is hiding something, and it is not her.
Okay, demon.
You
You're the last one to be talking about hiding
I beg
secrets.
your pardon.
No, nothing. Believe me, she is powerful.
I mean, you keep saying that, Aeolus, but I'd like some proof. I'm gonna free her.
I've never been in the habit of just letting people die like animals in a cage, whatever their crimes may be. This woman doesn't look like a dead walker. That's enough for me. We'll take it back to Valvenor, and you can tell your stories to them.
Okay, what? Whoa, yeah, seriously, what was that? You were about to murder your own daughter? Seriously? Okay, man, seriously? You're just honestly adding so much weight against you right now.
Now meet your eternity.
What are you doing to him? Let him go!
Very well. You may have him. I am finished.
Father? Father!
I mean, he did kind of come at you,
What be happening?
You're gonna wish you had died back there in that cell, you sick bitch.
and I mean, that dude came at you and her with a
I
knife.
wish to know who
I
stands
claim
before
self-defense. I mean, I'm me. I might as well be honest. Let's try to play diplomacy and be friendly right here. This is a tense situation. I can tell this is going to be socially awkward with this dead man in the middle of us. My former client, her father, your captor. It's a delicate situation here.
me. That is not my question. Who stands before me? Are you an imbecile or blind?
I might be the mercenary who was going to grab
Okay, I don't necessarily mean to be that rude to her. I'm kind of scoping for answers here.
From what I can see, you're an imbecile, incapable of piercing the
Other than her haircut, I don't necessarily find too much offensive about Edwin.
Well, I can pierce your face, if that's all you want. In several places.
Mock, if you like. Lamb that you are. You insist on believing that your employers are only scholars.
Well, frankly, I didn't think that because they were trying to summon some crazy infernal presence which then ended up possessing me, so no, I don't think they're just simple librarians either. But I'm not getting much answers.
Same thing. Some are simply more successful in their efforts. Aeolus thought I possessed knowledge which he could use to become the equal of the Ice Lords. That's why he questioned me.
Well, how do you know that? How do you know so much?
So what?
Don't tell me that they're both right, and she is an evil, powerful witch, and he is just a giant jerk.
Find a way to stop the Deadwalker.
Of course.
That's always the possibility, by the way. It's not just one's right and one's wrong. Both people can be wrong, and both people can be right.
For weeks on end. It was goodwill and kindness that made him enslave a monster to guard my prison. Oh, yes, in truth, the scribe was such a brave man that it was only for the happiness of his darling daughter that he tried.
Lady
to
brings up a
stop
point.
That's ridiculous. You are the monster. You're a liar. My father wasn't like that. Oh!
Oh, come on, Sybil.
Sybil, wait! Witch, I suggest you behave yourself if you don't want to find yourself back rotting in that cell of yours. I'm far from finished with you. I have questions. Lots of questions. And you had better make damn sure I like the answers.
So be it. Then I will tell you exactly what you want to hear, mercenary.
See, what a budding, beautiful relationship we have now. So, about that dead guy.
Hand. Why did you decide to kill him?
I desperately needed to replenish my power, so I drained his. My mood grows a bit murderous when I get
can't
too
tell if you're
hungry,
serious or
when I spend
joking
too
or
many
both.
days trapped in a filthy cell without so much as a toilet. Your friend was no hero. His aim was to reproduce the same ancient rituals that permitted powerful
You know,
magicians
I'm
and
kinda halfway
ice lords
believing that.
are fighting even now.
Given how all of a sudden, instead of an Ice Lord, I thought, I create a Fire Lord, it makes perfect sense.
You could have spared him.
I would still like some evidence, though.
Version of events, but you chose to kill him, and thus any chance of them listening.
Yeah, go figure.
He was a deceitful
You had to kill the guy
manipulative
right when
man.
he was getting ready to pay us. You couldn't wait a day longer.
World has had nothing but suffering from these magicians. I rejoice at this death. We need more like it.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that killing him was a mistake still.
Your pleasure won't last long. I have to. And since you took it upon yourself to kill their leader,
Do what you must do, mercenary. I'm your prisoner.
Okay, you're submitting an awful too easily, which is making me equally suspicious.
we have a contract with the Red Scribes. Otherwise, your best move is to tell your side of the story to the steward.
Ah, but there is the girl.
What girl? Sybil?
On the contrary, she will tell the truth. She will confirm all that happened.
We'll see.
I suppose.
Whatever. Besides Alas,
Might as well keep beating it for answers. I know I'm running a little long for runtime, but I don't want to stop in the middle of a conversation. That would be terribly rude of me.
Must have known. Although, if they are all as naive as his daughter, I imagine.
the Red Scribes performed a ritual.
So that's the reason why he disappeared. The ritual was designed to augment his... Given the ease with which I killed him,
Let's just say the results weren't quite what he was hoping for. But
A thing? What?
A thing. Yeah, I know. It's like, what are you talking about, thing?
Neither one nor the other.
Yeah, don't call me a thing.
I bring thee flames. I bring thee.
I like how they literally, everybody addresses the fact that, hey dude, you seriously space out every time you talk to your demon. He's like, oh yeah, that's right, yeah. It's like, don't worry, you get used to it. And he's just kind of like standing there, his head is leaning, he starts to drool on one side. It's like, oh, don't worry, you'll get used to it.
I sometimes find myself wondering who I am. Then again,
This is absolutely fascinating. There is probably much to learn.
we'll see.
Alright, I suppose that's the end of the conversation. Alright, well, I am going to pause here, and we're going to pick it up next time. So, thanks for watching. Subscribe for more Bound by Flame as we continue this adventure. Comment, rate, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.